The final votes are in and Winston Peters is once again kingmaker. Let's take a look at those final results from Friday. National lost 2 seats from the preliminary result, leaving them with only 48. ACT remains the same. It is its highest result ever. Congratulations to them. And for the Greens too. The Green Party experienced a boost, picking up an extra MP, their best result ever. This morning, the leaders of both of those... Well, no.
Auckland Central MP, I'll take that one.
Yeah, maybe one day, leader. We'll see. Chloe Sawbrook is here, and from the ACT Party is David Seymour. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good to have you here. Just before we start, I just want to read an email from Richard, it's a lovely piece of feedback. Why do we waste so much time getting politicians in to say nothing? The higher the politician is ranked, the less they actually say. They use millions of words, but actually say nothing. Could we not get by with half the number of politicians as we have survived 11 days without a government? Just saying.
I think that Richard's kind of touched quite clearly on one of the tensions that I see play out a lot, especially actually in the two legacy parties of Labour and National, which is the inherent tension between change and career progression. And when you're prioritising one of those two, you're inherently deprioritising the other.
Do you see that as well, particularly at a time when you're negotiating with one of these legacy parties?
Look, I think you can take those pot shots, but what I do know is that New Zealand's got a few challenges and we're all working together to solve them. But I'm proud that ACT is bringing to the table fresh ideas, as we always have.
All right, let's talk about those coalition talks. So can you tell us what your text sent, what you said to Winston Peters for him to think it was a scam?
Oh, look, I generally don't go into it, but something like, hi, congratulations on your election result, we should get together, David Seymour. So.
Right, okay, sounds pretty scammy, sounds pretty fishy. And so was that the only time you've reached out to him? Because I understand you've actually also tried to engage separately from that. Have you had a response to that?
No, I mean, I also called first before texting, so pretty standard stuff for, people trying to contact each other in the 21st century. But hey, look, it sounds like he's now sort of got the message via the media, so I hope that we'll be sitting down this week and that will allow us to put together the government that people have voted for. People want change. There's a lot of things that we need to get on with, and so our priority is how do we get together, form the government, get the numbers, so then we can start taking on some tougher numbers like the government's deficit and the cost of living and the amount of crime going on, because those are actually the numbers that I think are more important than the numbers in politics.
Well, they're the ones that people actually care about. They're the ones that they wanted you to come in and fix. But in order to do that, you need to have a relationship with this guy, right? So at this stage, do you have a meeting in the diary? Is anything being planned with you and Winston at this point?
Look, the answer to that is no, but I mean, we don't want to go too far into, meeting admin. I'm sure that we will meet many times over the next 3 years, and I suspect that might begin this week.
Chloe, is this frustrating for you, looking on, seeing that, maybe things could have happened quicker if people had been meeting, or...?
Look, again, I think politics does really all boil down to relationships and our capacity to find consensus and therefore to move forward. But I just do want to touch on that point that you made around kind of people voting for change, because, yeah, sure, absolutely, we have seen that. But just to really interrogate some of the media commentary around this, we've heard that this has been a right-wing swing. The reality is, as we can see with these coalition negotiations, that they are hanging on by a thread. And in fact, if you look at the makeup of our parliament, we have the most explicitly left-wing parliament that I can ever remember, 21 seats to the left of Labour, and actually quite a progressive relationship between the Greens and Te Pāti Māori. So I'm really excited to get on with holding this government to account.
Well, that's fair enough, but you can't exactly claim victory.
No, but what we can claim is that we have produced a solid mandate for the vision that we put forward as the Greens. We were really, really clear about the things that we wanted to achieve.
Yeah, but also, isn't it a lot to do with the fact that people just thought Labour was crap, so they voted for you?
I think there's a lot to be said about a lot of different theories that are out there, but the reality is that we also managed not only that historical result with 15 MPs, but also 3 electorates, and we've demonstrated the power of grassroots campaigning and a strong vision.
You will not get complaints.
But Ryan, can we just bring in one simple number? I mean, before this election, Labour, Te Pāti Māori and the Greens had, I think, 77 seats.
Yeah.
Now they've got about 55. Now, you have to respect the voter when they take 20-plus seats off you. I mean, that is the election reality, and that's why people say say that there is a vote for change.
Of course, you've got to respect the voter, but my core point remains that, you know, we had an historical Labor majority in the last term of government, and as David well knows, that it really boils down to those 61 plus seats and the ability to get things done.
100%, which is what we're seeing happen or not happen, more to the point right now. Let's talk about Marama Davidson for a second. She's talking about severe or intense social unrest if this referendum on the treaty goes ahead. We just heard from Chris Luxon this morning. He says his party is dead against it. They're not in support of it, but didn't say it wouldn't happen. Is that something that you're pushing for in these talks?
Yeah, of course. And look, ACT has long said that our treaty is something that ultimately belongs to everyone. The principles of the treaty are important to how New Zealand works, what our constitutional settings are. We all have to live under that. We should all have a say about what those principles mean. Remember, it's Parliament that said there are treaty principles, but Parliament has never debated what they are. That's been done by the courts, it's been done by the Waitangi Tribunal, the Public Service has done it. Everyone's had a say except for the vast majority of New Zealanders. Now, I believe that New Zealand should be a country where we can have rational debate about our future, what it means to be a New Zealander, what rights and duties people have, what our treaty that founded our country ultimately means. When I hear politicians say, no, you can't have that discussion because people will do bad things if you try and have a discussion, I think that is so uncivilised, it's so irresponsible, and I kind of expect it from the John Tamaheres and the Willie Jacksons of the world. I mean, those guys are old radio shock jocks. They do that kind of thing. But to hear it from the Green Party, first from James Shaw, which was a real surprise, now from Marama Davidson, I think that's irresponsible, and I think the Green Party should actually say, no, we believe in rational debate and discussion. We will discuss why we disagree, not threaten that somehow there's going to be some sort of unrest.
Is it something,
Green Party.
Is it something you would be willing, that would force you to sit on the crossbenches over if you didn't get your way on the referendum?
Well, put it this way, we're in a negotiation and, you know, all of those options are possible. We're not going to start ruling stuff in and out through media, but we'll see where we get to with that debate. What I can say is that people deserve to have that discussion about their constitutional future.
If we want to talk about people deserving to have that discussion about our constitutional future, then let's just take a step back and recognise that we're one of only the few jurisdictions in the world that don't have a supreme codified constitution. We operate under parliamentary supremacy, and in fact, it would be incredibly reductive for a parliament to put forward a binary proposition to the public based on debates that parliamentarians themselves are having. Actually, if we want to talk about a fulsome, David, if I may finish, please. If we want to talk, and again, I would have said that there were far better processes there through deliberative democracy, citizens' assemblies and otherwise, and I put forward the same proposition here, which is that if we actually want to have a meaningful and informed discussion, then there are other deliberative democracy processes to facilitate that, the likes of a citizens' assembly, for example. But we're not hearing that. We're hearing a proposition for a reductive binary to be put forward to the public, preemptively decided by politicians, and we do think that that is dangerous.
But through, you would have public consultation on this, I'm presuming. You would have the...
Yeah, I mean, let's just be clear about what we propose.
Yeah.
You know, first of all, Parliament said the treaty has principles. Parliament has never debated what they are. So we propose that Parliament actually have a bill, debate what the principles of the treaty mean, starting with the government statement that it means that everyone's equal before the law, that the government has the right to govern, that iwi have the right to be consulted.
Select committees.
Yep, and then people can come along and submit.
The Greens will be there. Everyone's there. The Party Māori's there. Everyone's chatting.
This is how democracy works in New Zealand. It's actually been quite successful for the last few hundred years. Then the final thing is, you say, look, this is a bit bigger than the average law Parliament passes. I think we should actually allow people to vote, you know, yes or no, should this be how we understand the principles of the Treaty of Waitangi? And when people say, I heard Marama Davidson say, if you come for the treaty, with respect, she's not listening. What we're proposing would actually enhance the mana of the treaty. It would put the treaty at the centre of New Zealand's constitutional arrangements, but properly understood and publicly debated.
It's interesting because we've had this debate before, and actually I think fundamentally you both sort of agree
that we need to premise the constitutional conversation.
It's just how we go about having the conversation, as you disagree completely on that front.
And again, I think that simply putting something forward in a reductive binary, and totally take on board your point that we have select committee processes.
What does that mean?
It means that you put forward a yes or a no to people. That's what a binary is by definition. So we know that there are far better ways to go about facilitating public information and people's understanding of what it is that we're actually discussing.
Okay, that's interesting. But when does the average person get to have a say?
Didn't we just do that?
Just the election.
So Parliament passes a law. Why not then allow people to ratify it?
Well, if you're proposing that we do that every single time with every single law, that changes our democracy quite substantially. You're just saying it's incredibly successful.
But I'm not. I'm pointing out that this one is a little bit bigger than most. And I mean, your cannabis referendum worked that way. My end-of-life choice referendum worked that way. So this is hardly new.
And if I may say so, a constitutional conversation which goes to the very core of how we as a country want to run perhaps should have greater status than the likes of the end-of-life choice bill or cannabis referendum.
All right. Well, look, very different. Well, the same but different.
It would be the same as the way that we change rules around voting. So, this is everything that we're proposing is quite normal.
Yeah. Well, whether it happens or not is another question, right? And that's what this week is about for you and for Winston Peters and for Christopher Luxon.
And hopefully also for this government to finally come to the table and say that it calls for a ceasefire in Gaza.
Yes, we didn't quite get there today, unfortunately, but we will next time. Thank you guys both so much for coming in. Great to have you.